Yo, buenos dias. What up, you guys? What up? You can see me there in the window reflection. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to do a new bike reveal and talk a little bit about what the bike is, why I picked this bike, and my initial thoughts and opinions. This isn't going to be a full, in-depth, comprehensive review, but I do want to talk a little bit about the bicycle because honestly, I didn't see a ton of videos about this one, but I also, I think it'd be good to throw out there online. So anyway, as you can see, this is the 2024 Cervelo ZSF-5 or ZSF-5, and I picked this up. If you've been looking at the bike industry lately, you know a lot of these bikes have been going on like fire sales, and this one from Contender Cycles, no, it was Competitive Cyclist, and no, I'm not sponsored by them, but this was on sale, normally 65 hundo, and I picked it up for 42.25. And I was not necessarily in the market for a bike, but I was going to be picking up a new bike, in the coming months. And so I felt like it was too good a deal to pass up on the way it's all set up. It's got the SRAM GX transmission. I'll talk a little bit about that. My first time ever running this particular drivetrain. Came stock with the Maxxis Recons. As you can see, we've got an Aspen on the rear now. I'll talk about that as well. It's got the dropper post. You can get this in a 100. This is the 120/115. Does not have the remote lockout, but I am pretty stoked on just how clean the cockpit looks. Maybe someday I'll cut this down, but it's working for now. Got the Garmin mount. We've got the dropper post, of course. I'm no bike mechanic or expert when it comes to all this stuff, so I'm not going to hit all the nitty gritty. Anyway, I'm no bike mechanic, but feel free to drop a comment below if you have any specific questions or points that I'm not hitting on regarding the bicycle. So yeah, for me, it was too good a deal to pass up on. Let me give you a little bit of history on me as far as my riding and what I do, just so you can kind of vet me personally. So I'm not a professional racer or any of that. I live out here in beautiful Arizona. 98% of my riding is at South Mountain, which consists of pretty wide variety of different types of trails. You got some single track, a lot of climbing, a lot of very technical, rocky, chunky features. I'll put some videos in here so you can kind of get an idea. And I apologize, I ride this thing on the daily, just rode it yesterday, and so it is dusty at the moment. But I've been riding for about 3 years now, and when I first started, I had an Ibis Mojo HD 27.5. I thought I was like an enduro dude, and I had a lot of fun on that bike, but the more I've gotten into riding, the more I've kind of transitioned towards an XC profile, just because I don't want to get hurt, and I enjoy the challenge of the climb and the endurance and the fitness side of it. So that's just kind of naturally where my progression has taken me. My bike previous to this was a Canyon Spectral Aluminum 27.5, so neither of those were proper XC bikes by any means, but they both got the job done, and I did just fine on them. My Canyon probably weighs about 33 pounds. This one, if I had to say in the ballpark, is probably about 26 to 27 pounds or thereabouts. I don't have a scale, so I haven't weighed it personally. So I knew my next bike was going to be, like I said, more XC style, but because of the types of trails that I'm riding, I wanted something that was still capable and could still handle, doing some decent downhills with black diamond features, 2 to 3 foot drops, all that kind of thing, which you'll see in some of my videos. South Mountain's got some pretty rowdy trails for sure. So I did a lot of research on this bike, and I was drawn to it because people say it climbs really well, that it still handles the down well, that it's a very smooth, comfortable bike, and also it's a very quiet bike, and so I'll talk about my thoughts on that here also. This bike got a lot of heat because people said it's just a ripoff of the Santa Cruz Blur. I dig the look of the Santa Cruz Blur. I don't dig the colors. And so for me, anything they took from the Santa Cruz Blur that's, proven and works well is a bonus for me. But I like that they offered it in just this kind of olive off-white or the black. Personally, I was going to go with the black, but it wasn't available in the build that I was looking for. But I actually really dig this look in real life. So let me talk about my initial thoughts on the bicycle so far. I was nervous going into it, wasn't sure what to expect. Like I said, I've never ridden a shorter travel bike out on the mountains before, and so I was pleasantly surprised by how plush and comfortable the bike was immediately. Compared to my Canyon, I must not have the suspension set up proper on that thing, but this thing night and day difference. Way more comfortable. It is a slightly more aggressive stance than the Canyon, which is expected, but just as far as the suspension, felt very plush and overall very comfortable. So I was super stoked on that. Initially it came with the Recon tire in the rear. I got a flat within like a week and a half, so I went with the Aspen for less, lower rolling resistance. And as soon as I installed that Aspen, that's when this thing really took off. And it is crazy, the bike is lighter, but the weight alone wasn't making much of a difference. When I first got it, it felt more comfortable climbing, it felt lighter, but I wasn't like ripping up climbs really any faster than I was on my Canyon. But once I installed that Aspen, I immediately hit a couple pretty solid PRs, top 10s, and there's actually KOM rather, that I hit just yesterday on this bike. I'll do a video on that here at some point. And it was a short climbing segment. So overall, the bike is very comfortable. Definitely climbs well. You can tell it's meant to climb, and it does that beautifully. Even with an Aspen, which doesn't have a ton of tread on it, I don't find myself, slipping out a ton. Granted, I've been riding these trails for a while, so I know them pretty well. But it's plush, it's super smooth, and it is super quiet. I heard that a lot in the reviews, that it's a very quiet bike. This thing is, I catch hikers by surprise a lot more often on this. I always kind of yell out and let people know I'm coming, but just because of how quiet it is, like nobody hears it at all. And so that's a plus. Let's talk a little bit about the transmission group set. I freaking love it. I used to always just have such a headache indexing my mechanical gears, and this thing has been awesome so far. Like, zero issues. I'm loving it. It's great. What else? Let's talk about the only thing, I guess my only complaint, this isn't unique to the bike, it's just a complaint with these shifting levers, where they're set up. It's really taken me a while to get used to just how bulky they are. Ideally for me, the brake lever's in a good spot, but I would have these about this far over so that I could, usually I do 2 fingers on the brake, so I've had to actually get to where I just use the 1 finger. I'm not a huge fan of SRAM when it comes to brakes. I just think the quality's not quite there compared to Shimano, at least the experience I've had with Shimano. But these things work. With my on my Canyon, I have SRAMs, and the levers themselves got super loose, and you can hear it when you're riding. They rattle. And I didn't have that issue with the Shimano, but it's something with the SRAM. But that's not unique to the bike. That's just, that's the SRAM way of life. But yeah, overall, super stoked on the bike so far. I'll do a more in-depth review. I've been riding it for about 2.5 weeks. I wanted to put some time on the saddle to really make sure this wasn't just me being stoked about a new bike, but to really kind of work out the kinks and see how I really felt about it. But I am super happy with the purchase. It so far has handled everything just great. The downhills, you can definitely feel that it's not as stable. I think we got a slightly shorter wheelbase, and obviously the bike is lighter, and so that's expected. However, times don't lie, and my times on the downhill segments out at South Mountain are still right there with where they were before. I'm not going for KOMs or top 10s on my downhill portions, but just the other day I actually got, I think I was top 10 on a downhill segment that I've ridden a ton of times before, and that was on this new bike. And I think part of that is just how smooth and I don't even know the words for it, but it is very smooth. People say compliant. I don't know if that's the word, but it's just a smooth ride. And so yeah, I think with the downhill, like I'm gonna have to take it down a notch in terms of downhill. I don't want to destroy the bike, but I haven't been disappointed so far by what I am able to do as far as the downhill goes. So yeah, I'm stoked on it. I'm excited about it. Stay tuned. I'll have videos on my channel actually riding the bike, and this video should have some clips as well as of the bike in action. The loudest thing when I'm riding this bike, I think, is my freaking Usui pack. Something rattles on that, but the bike itself is freaking dialed. I'm really happy about it. My only bummer is that they're pretty much all sold out. Otherwise, I'd maybe pick up like a second one just to have it on reserve. But yeah, there you go, the Cervelo ZSF-5 or ZSF-5. Drop a comment below, let me know if you have any questions, let me know what you think of the bike, and I'll have some other videos more in-depth, kind of ride review impressions. You know, I'm a Joe Schmo, I'm no professional when it comes to all this stuff, but if you're interested in this bike or you've been kind of eyeing it and wondering, even though by now it's probably too late to pick one up, let me know and I'll answer any questions that I can. That's gonna do it. Like, subscribe if you dig it. We'll catch you next time. Nos vemos.